Welcome to the first public engagement session for the City of Vaughan's POPs Guidelines and Standards Study. Before starting the presentation, we would like to acknowledge the land we are on. We respectfully acknowledge that the City of Vaughan is situated in the territory and Treaty 13 lands of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. We also recognize the traditional territory of the Huron-Wendat and the Haudenosaunee. The City of Vaughan is currently home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people today. As representatives of the people of the City of Vaughan, we are grateful to have the opportunity to work and live in this territory. The City of Vaughan has hired DTH, a multidisciplinary design practice, to lead the study. DTH are joined by Eric Berlis for legal advisory, Gladkey Planning Associates for planning advisory, and A.W. Hooker for estimation services. My name is Charles Gosselin-Giguère. I'm an urban designer at DTH, and I will be walking you through this introductory presentation on the POPs project. The presentation will cover what POPs are, a project overview, what has been completed to date, how you can get involved, and the next steps to the study. In this first section, I will explain what POPs are and the benefits they bring to a community. Privately owned public spaces, or POPs, are outdoor open spaces that are accessible to the public without any charge or barrier, but are privately owned and maintained. POPs come in many shapes, sizes, and designs. They offer various amenities to the public, such as seating, shade, and active features like play structures. To ensure these spaces meet the city's standards, legal agreements are in place between the private owner, often a condominium corporation, and the city. These agreements outline the many responsibilities of the private owner in maintaining the space and keeping it open and accessible. POPs rely on four main groups for their upkeep and success: the public, the owner, the developer, and the city. Your role as a member of the public is simple. Enjoy the space and be respectful of others using it, just like any park. The owner, such as a condominium corporation or property owner, is responsible for keeping the space safe, clean, and functional, ensuring it meets city standards. The developer takes care of designing and building POPs and fulfilling legal agreements tied to the project. Finally, the city plays an important role by developing design standards and approving applications submitted by developers. The city also monitors the construction process to make sure everything being built aligns with these standards. Once the POPs is opened to the public, the city also monitors the POPs to make sure it's open during the times that it's supposed to be and maintained properly. Parks and POPs are similar in many ways, but have some key differences. Parks are owned and maintained by the city or other public agencies, such as a conservation authority, while, on the other hand, POPs are owned and maintained by private entities, such as a property owner or condominium corporation. Park sizes can vary greatly in size, from small plazas to large regional parks. In comparison, POP sizes do not vary as much and are usually smaller or equivalent in size to a public square. Lastly, parks are located throughout the city, while POPs tend to be located in intensification areas with higher residential density. Although ownership, responsibilities, and sizes differ, All parks and POPs must remain open for public use at no cost. POPs, like parks, play an important role in our cities. They promote mental well-being by offering places for relaxation, socializing, and connecting with nature, reducing stress and improving overall quality of life. These spaces also provide opportunities for people to engage in physical activity, helping lower the risk of chronic diseases like obesity, heart disease, and diabetes. Additionally, POPs contribute to community sustainability. They help manage urban heat, improve air quality, and support biodiversity. By integrating these spaces into urban areas, we create healthier, more resilient communities that can thrive in the long term. Creating POPs is a collaborative process that brings together developers, planners, architects, engineers, lawyers, and city staff. It starts with planning and urban design departments, setting objectives for these spaces. Developers then work closely with the city's legal and planning teams to ensure all programmatic, access, and maintenance requirements are addressed in POPs agreements. This multidisciplinary approach ensures that POPs reflect the needs of both the public and the surrounding community. Now let's explore this study and what we hope to achieve through it. The City of Vaughan is conducting this study for three main reasons. First, the city is experiencing rapid growth and intensification, which makes the planning of public spaces, such as POPs, more critical than ever. Second, Vaughan's City Council has recently directed that approved POPs shall receive 100% parkland dedication credit. Previously, parkland dedication credit had only been allocated to suitable land that developers give the city for parks when developing an area. With this new council direction, developers can now request to give the city a POPs instead of a park. This is an important point. If POPs are granted parkland dedication credits, the city misses out on gaining new land for expanding the municipal park system. These credits allow private developers to fulfill their park obligations, but it means less public land is added to the city parks. This limits the city's ability to grow its own park network. Lastly, provincial legislation is introducing new policies under a new bill, Bill 23, that could further impact how the city acquires parkland and creates public spaces. Bill 23, also known as More Homes Built Faster Act, was introduced in Ontario in 2022 to speed up housing development and make it more affordable by reducing red tape for builders. It changes planning rules, which could affect how quickly homes are built and how much green space is provided in communities. While it aims to address the housing crisis, it could reduce funding for city services and could reduce the city's ability to expand its park system. This study will help the city navigate these recent policy changes and ensure the needs of Vaughan's growing population are still met. Within this changing policy context, we find ourselves on the edge of fundamental shifts in the role POPs play in our cities. From the city's perspective, this raises an important question about how POPs are designed, managed, and financed. While POPs have historically been passive spaces to sit, relax, and socialize, they will now also be functioning as active spaces. This is because developers are allowed to satisfy their parkland dedication requirements using POPs. The result of this is that the city gets fewer new parks with active features in growing neighborhoods. POPs then have to provide these active features. Active spaces are different from passive spaces because they encourage physical activity and engage people in dynamic use of the spaces. Active features can include playgrounds, sport courts, exercise equipment, and more. The goal of the study is therefore multifaceted. The city will promote context-sensitive design by setting detailed design guidelines and standards. Developers and city staff will use these to ensure high-quality POPs will be built. Importantly, these guidelines will establish minimum criteria for POPs to be eligible to receive parkland dedication credit. It will provide guidance on common site design issues, public and private interface, access, and other landscape design considerations. We are undertaking this study in 4 phases. As the diagram here indicates, we are currently transitioning from phase 1 to phase 2. The first phase of this project focused on analyzing background information, collecting best practice examples, working closely with city staff and the project team, and consulting with the community and stakeholders. In phase 2, we will prepare draft report material. Phase 3 will be dedicated to consulting with various stakeholders to receive feedback. The study is scheduled to be completed in the second quarter of 2025, although some flexibility might be needed to adapt to changing provincial legislation. In this next portion of the presentation, we will summarize what work has been completed to date in the first phase of the project. As part of our phase 1 background review, we've analyzed a range of studies, guidelines, and policies. We've also looked at precedent projects to understand what has worked in similar contexts. Additionally, stakeholder engagement has been a key component, providing insights from various perspectives. All this work will help us shape the most appropriate policies and guidelines for Vaughan. The next slides summarize some of the key findings that have emerged from this work. One way for cities to ensure design excellence in POPs is to have dedicated design guidelines. Our research indicates that very few municipalities in Ontario have such guidelines. Most cities provide only limited design guidance for POPs in other planning policies. Given the impending changes in provincial legislation, more cities are likely to develop detailed design guidance for POPs. Vaughan is leading the way on this now. Like most cities, Vaughan currently has design direction for POPs embedded in urban design guidelines and other area-specific open space plans. This is how the city currently provides design guidance on POPs. In the VMC, Urban Design Guidelines, the VMC Open Space Plan, the citywide Urban Design Guidelines, and the Vaughan Official Plan. These documents all provide broad principles for POPs design, but not detailed guidance. They also predate policy changes, so they focus on passive spaces rather than active ones. A key component to this study is to provide detailed design guidance that is updated for today's policy context and Vaughan's urban design and parkland objectives. The team has also reviewed a variety of constructed POPs projects to better understand what is working and what is not in the GTA. The recent policy changes mean that most of the POPs that were reviewed were passive spaces, meaning spaces for seating, relaxation, and circulation. Existing constructed POPs also typically come in different forms, including plazas, landscape frontages, walkways, and courtyards. Our precedent review has shown that there are very few built examples of POPs with active features, but many are now proposed in developments across the GTA. Here we see a POPs in Toronto where active features, playground structures, complement passive features such as planting and seating. Also, notice how the building placement and openings relate to the POPs. This is known as the building interface. It is one of the other key considerations for high-quality POPs design. Other considerations for successful POPs have also emerged from our precedent review. Getting the dimensions and shape right is key to designing these functional spaces. We learned that POPs work better when they're square or rectangular in overall shape, avoiding long, narrow shapes that are harder to fill with park-like features. It's also important that about half of the POP's perimeter faces a public street, making them easier to find and more likely to feel welcoming to the public. Programming is equally important. Identifying suitable amenities ensures that the space meets user needs. Design-wise, it's vital to consider how buildings interact with these spaces and how sites may evolve with development phasing. Lastly, universal accessibility is key. POPs must be welcoming and easily accessible to everyone. We have engaged various stakeholders, including city staff, elected officials, and development industry professionals in the first phase of the project to solicit their feedback on challenges and opportunities. Several key issues have emerged from these engagement efforts. Management and ownership of public spaces remain central concerns because POPs blur the boundaries between public and private space. Remember that POPs are privately owned and operated, but publicly accessible. This comes with a complex set of issues to think about, including security, liability, and access. Maintenance and funding models need to be clearly defined to sustain these spaces. Public access and usage must be prioritized, ensuring that these areas are open and inclusive. Finally, we've heard it is complicated to enforce public bylaws on private property. The importance of operational and maintenance standards also emerged as a key issue from this first phase of the project. This is particularly important as POPs begin to supplement the city's parks. If POPs have active features, then they must be maintained and operated to the same or similar standard as to a city park. The city must ensure that these standards are enforced in the long term, including if the property and associated POPs experience changes in ownership or property management over time. Similarly, the city must consider how the replacement of POP amenities, such as playgrounds, sport courts, benches, or trees, will occur and how they will be funded. This can have financial responsibility implications for different stakeholders, including developers and condo owners. To help us develop the best policies and design guidelines for POPs, we want to hear from you. What active features would you like to see in POPs? Which design features would make POPs the most exciting for you? What should the city include in its guidelines to ensure POPs are inviting and welcoming spaces for all residents? Do you have any concerns or foresee any issues with existing or new POPs? To provide feedback on these questions, please go to vaughan.ca/POPs to access and complete the short survey. This final section of this presentation will cover the next steps and share contacts and links to access further information. This fall, we will focus on drafting the POPs design guidelines as well as an implementation plan. Following that, we will engage with stakeholders to collect their feedback on the draft material. Key meetings include the second Technical Advisory Committee meeting, the first Vaughan Design Review Panel meeting, and the second Stakeholder Advisory Committee meeting. Finally, in early 2025, We will hold our second round of public engagement to gather further input from you. For further information on the project and to follow updates, please go to vaughan.ca/pops. You can also contact the city's project manager, Shirley Marsh, at shirley.marsh@vaughan.ca. We thank you for joining us today for this introduction to the City of Vaughan's POP study. We look forward to hearing from you through the survey and upcoming engagements.